Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 93. We are closing in on 100. And look who's back.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, you know, you can tell he tried to be in my good graces for having me do it by myself last week because he walked in.
That's a nice touch.
I was about to say, man, what the? Oh, look at you wearing the gear.
See, and you know, I asked for a discount for like 2 weeks. He finally gave me a discount.
It looks
good. Man, it's
good.
Man.
I really like it.
I love the color too. So.
Yeah. That this green really, people really, especially here, I think it's a kind of a military thing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people want that color with certain things that we do. So I try to make sure it's readily available. So like if I'm not trying to do no product placement, this was just kind of, he just came in, but like, yeah, if y'all liking that, hit me up. I can send y'all some gear. I mean, you got to pay for it. I ain't just sending stuff for free because that kind of stuff is some work to make.
Most definitely. And there's about 3 or 4 more of these at the house for sure in the closet.
So let me ask you, how was Canada?
Man, Canada was beautiful. I had a great time. Cold though, for sure.
Yeah.
But the last 2 days was fantastic. It was still like snow on the ground, but I mean, Canada's a place where, man, it's just a melting pot of people that really respect each other.
Right.
And different kind of cultures. The food is amazing. And I was in Ontario, which is on the East Coast.
Okay.
Toronto is like a mini New York. So anything you want to do, you can do. So a lot of water if you want to like hiking or hunting. Oh man, it's a fantastic place.
But I won't be doing the hunting, but I didn't think about the fact that like I could actually go because my wife, shout out to my wife, she wants to go and visit different places, but I always tell her I'm not flying over water. So like, it's not Canada, I could actually fly to Canada because I'm over land, So like people always say, why do you don't want to fly over water? I was like, because, and I'm not trying to jinx, but if the plane crashes, I've always had, I have a fear of drowning in like a if let's say I'm in a car and the car is going underwater and I'm stuck in the car, so same thing with the plane. Plus, if I survive, I'm on the flotation device and there's stuff over there just waiting to get me. So I like,
man.
Right. So like if we crash on the land, I don't have to worry about it. I ain't gonna make it.
Hey, pull it. If it doesn't pop up, you just come up.
So, but I'm glad they let you back in, man. I was like,
they love me there, man.
Huh?
They love me there.
I know, but at the same time, they were gonna be tripping. It's funny because after we did the podcast, you know how your phones be listening to you. I say it was about 10 minutes. There was an article about how people in Canada were being rude to Americans because of that. And I was like, man, the phone been listening to me. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all will be talking about something and then you'll look through your feed about 5 minutes later and it's like, damn, I was just talking about some nachos. Yeah.
I think it happens so often. Everybody just kind of used to it.
You said, yeah. I've gotten used. Sometimes I had to tell the phone, don't be sending me none of that, man. I ain't trying to, I don't want no Bluebell ice cream or nothing like that. Well, I'm happy to have you back. So let's get into some things that interest us. The first thing I want to talk about is Phoenix, the Phoenix Suns. So here's my question. It's not bugging. It hasn't bugged me. At the beginning of the year, a lot of people, analysts and stuff, were saying Phoenix is going to be in the NBA Finals. They're picked to represent the West before the season started. And I'm like, why would they say that? Did they make some kind of trade? Did they get some people that I didn't see? Because all I remember was Bill, Booker, KD, and they got the point guard, but like they didn't have any wings to defend. The interior presence wasn't what you needed to be at the time. Yusuf Nurkic was serviceable because he could pass, but he wasn't that athletic big that you need. They didn't have any defenders, and they were gonna be small with all three of those guys out there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why the hell people like the season. To me, went exactly how I thought it was gonna go. You weren't gonna see they weren't gonna play that much because somebody was gonna be hurt all the time. It's unfortunate that it was happening like that, but did you think they were gonna make the finals?
I didn't think they were gonna make the finals, but I think people were enamored with 3 20-plus point scores, and you know, I didn't see them making the finals. I was excited to watch it, but I just knew they didn't have the bigs. Nurkic, who is very scared of the Joker. He's terrified of the Joker. I have watched in Portland every time Denver played him. I mean, he just had his way. I mean, he wasn't even trying to guard. And I watched it very closely. And so
I've never paid attention.
Yeah, I mean, he is terrified of him, and he tries to be more friendly, even though they're friends and things of that nature. But he really doesn't get up to play him very well. And Nurkic just has his number and can do kind of whatever he wanted to do. So I knew in particular he wasn't going to be a big that was really going to dominate the paint.
Right.
You know, get multiple rebounds, second opportunities. I just didn't see that from him.
That's crazy.
And then they lost so much. Yeah, he's terrified of. He's terrified.
That's crazy. Well, he ain't scared of Draymond.
Gotta get up off the floor first.
Yeah, but hey, maybe you should put a Draymond face on the Joker, and then he'll start playing, or he'll be like the Water Boy, where he just imagine the Joker's face, turn it into Draymond, and then he just go off.
I don't think that's going. And I like Nurkic. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think he's skillful. I just doesn't think he have a lot of lift.
You know,
he needs that.
And it's funny because you watch him play, and you see it, and you like, yo, like he can ball.
He has gifts.
And then it's like there's something missing, and I don't know if he has that, you know, that swag that, yo, dog, I'm getting every rebound. I'm gonna give you, like, you would think he should be a 20 and 10 guy.
2015.
Well, yeah, I guess with all those the way they shooting sometimes, he should be a 20 and 10 guy, because 20 and 15, because you know, some of these guys aren't hitting the way they need to be hitting. But you would think that, but it's like you watch him play and you think he should be better offensively skilled with moves and stuff, but he could pass the ball.
He definitely passed the ball, but I mean, I really feel like he needs to go see the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
get some heart.
They got his ass up out of there.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They got him up out of there,
and they saw it early.
You know? So I just didn't see it. I didn't see it, man.
I honestly did not think, and I didn't hear, you know, anyone really talk about this a whole lot. Is Booker's leadership? I just don't see him as a leader right now. I think he hasn't matured in that role. He whines about too many calls.
You think so?
Man, I've watched Booker extensively.
Now he did try to be more vocal, but then the coach was telling him he didn't want him to be vocal in the huddles. That actually happened. That was a problem.
I heard about that too.
And he wasn't like, you know. Now I get it. Okay, here's what I say. Here's what I say with the Booker. Because I think with Booker, when you had Chris Paul, who came in, who was a vocal leadership, I think maybe he kind of stepped back a little. For
sure.
And now when Chris Paul left, I think he was trying to go. And I think the Team USA, I think that really helped him to try to develop being a leader.
Right.
Then he starts to try to do those things.
And took it away from
him.
him.
Then the coach is like, yeah, no, we don't need you to do that. You know, so I'm. I will say, with some things, kind of, you know, everybody seems to complain about something in the NBA, players and stuff do these days. But I will say that, like, I guess if he cuts down a little on the complaining, but I think he handled this season. I think they all handled it pretty good. I don't know if the stuff that you heard, the stuff about Bill, with apparently Budenholzer had approached him and asked him, told him he wanted him to be a little bit more like Drew Holiday. And Bill was like, it was Bradley Bill was like, that's an insult. Like, don't compare me to him.
Yeah, that's
and
Budenholzer, come on.
Right, but now I don't know, because like you're hearing this stuff secondhand. I don't know what the context was.
Mm-hmm.
Was it more of he was trying to have him to just like, look, you might have to play a little bit different than what you traditionally do.
Yeah.
Because he looks, to me, it was the worst trade in my opinion, simply because the fit wasn't there. Because Bill is a Kevin Durant and a Devin Booker in the way he approaches the game.
I agree.
So like there was no seamlessness, chemistry with them. It was, you get, and there were times where you watch games where Bill was just in the corner. And you could tell his frustration because it was like, that's not how he's used to playing.
Right.
So if you're going to put them together, I actually thought this year that it would gel a little bit better because you'd have a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
But he got the ball across court, but oftentimes he was on the wing, which is like, you got to have somebody say, no, man, we're running this play, right? Now, I know you want the ball, but he's hit 3 or 4 in a row. We're going to run a set to get him another look.
Right.
And he wasn't doing that. And Bradley Beal, every time he was in there, I'm not saying he looked lost, he just didn't look like he fit.
Right. And I think a lot of pressure was on him because he knew he didn't fit.
Yes.
And so with that being said, it kind of reminds me of my man that left Golden State and went to the Wizards.
Yeah.
So Poole, so it is different.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that. And if you're going in thinking, I'm leaving the Wizards and I'm going to take my Wizards approach and take it to Phoenix, that's just not going to work. And Poole is learning that as well.
Yeah.
And it takes time to be a leader.
Right.
I'm not really on what's my man from Phoenix? We just talked about him being a leader.
Booker.
I'm not on Book, but that first year trying to lead is going to be a little bit rough. So you got to just let it go.
And if it's probably, they always say most leaders are born. You can learn to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you're not a leader inherently, it will take you some time to develop those.
Absolutely.
Because like if you've never been the type of guy to get on somebody and speak up, and then all of a sudden you speak up, people are gonna probably be like, damn, what the hell is wrong with you?
Right.
Sit
down somewhere.
Yeah. So, and then, you probably are wondering if somebody else is gonna come in and have that voice.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it didn't mesh.
And being a leader, and obviously I'm sure he knows this, but being a leader is also having those sidebar conversations.
Yeah.
The one-on-ones, so that when you do speak in a huddle, you get that respect.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if there were conversations made with the coaching staff and the players about roles and what they expected, but I don't know if I'm a coach, I'm gonna get upset with one of my star players trying to, not rah-rah, but get on guys, hold people accountable and talk during the huddle. Now, if you're trying, if I'm Coach Bud and I'm trying to get a point to make sure everybody understands something, and you're talking about stuff, I don't have the time to say what I need to say, that's different.
Right.
But like if you're just saying like I don't want you talking, that's like, okay, well, so now instead of me trying to figure out ways to be, to help, I'm just gonna step back completely and not even do that because you said that to me. So it's a challenging thing, and
It really is.
they going through coaches like we going through shoes or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think owners have to own and let the GMs and those guys take care of those things. And I think the owner got really excited and really pushed for this trade from what I'm hearing.
Right.
And just going back to the leadership piece, as a coach, I know I've done this before. I know I needed a young lady to lead this following year.
Right.
So I would take her out of the game and say, hey, I'm getting ready to call a timeout. I need you to show them this play, like,
Right.
or show them what we're trying to do. You know, I need them to know that you know it, and they will follow you, and they're gonna buy in.
Right.
So our coaching staff would completely be out of the huddle
and let the players
and let that players do
right.
it.
And I think, like again, I'm not in the huddle. I'm going on what was
Of course.
reported. If I'm Bud, my approach would possibly be, hey, I do want you to run the huddle sometime,
Right.
but let's find a midpoint to where
Balance
we could
piece.
balance where we can coexist with doing it, because there are times where your voice is going to be what I need everybody to hear, but then there are going to be times where I need to get a point across, especially if you're the one that's messing up.
Yeah.
So I need that if you know that, okay, hey, during these certain times, I'm gonna let you do it. Like first 3 quarters, once we come in, if you feel like talking, you go, and I'm gonna step back. But that 4th quarter, that belongs to me, right? Or whatever it is that
absolutely.
you
I like that point. The thing that annoys me is like they're blaming KD. Man, stop that. Stop that.
It's your fault, KD.
Stop
It's
that.
your fault, KD,
Don't
man.
blame
It's your
KD.
fault. Yeah, it's always your fault.
Talking about the money. Booker's making. I mean, they're all making money.
That dude,
Bradley
man.
Beal, you know, he's making a ton of money as well.
That dude, KD, can't win for losing, man.
Bad breaks, man. And all he wants to do is hoop.
Yeah,
That's all.
and then you have people talking about, well, he's not a leader. Well, he just leads. He works. He does his job, right?
Leads by example.
And not everybody's going to be the type of person that can get on other people and hold them accountable.
That's not his style.
That's not how you. So that doesn't mean anything other than that. So then, if you know you have that, if that's not where he is, then you need to have somebody there that takes care of that role. And maybe that's what Devin was trying to do more of this year. So.
And it boils down to this when you're talking about KD. It's Westbrook's fault. The bottom line. No, nobody looks at that. This is Russell Westbrook's fault of KD not being the leader that he. Yes,
it's not Westbrook.
Absolutely.
It was Harden. Because when Harden left, that's when all this stuff started.
It's Westbrook's fault because Westbrook
Westbrook
undermines. He has zero self-discipline.
Okay.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
But
Isn't it always funny? We always, oh man, he's a great guy.
He is.
But he's just.
But I respect his motor.
Yeah.
I respect everything about him, but his IQ is very low for a basketball. Very low.
That's tough.
No, it's not tough.
That's
It's
tough.
real. I have watched him for years.
I will tell you, in late, and it's okay. So here's what I've always seen with Westbrook. On the ball defense,
Okay.
exceptional.
Yeah.
On the ball, it's the off the ball late situations
Nowhere to be found.
that I've pointed to dozens of times where it's like he's going to be the one that doesn't, he's not there when he needs. He's not focused. He's not locked in when he needs to be locked in when it comes to certain situations. And I know somebody say, "Oh man, look, man, I'll be happy to share it with you." And here's my thing: everybody's gonna have one of those moments where they do something.
Right.
But if you have that moment over again, then you know that what it. And I'm glad
that IQ.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because we're going to discuss this a little bit more in depth with some stuff. But it's tough, man, because I love his mentality. I feel like he gets a really bad rap. I do wonder though.
He gets the right rap.
No, like he's got moved from team to team, and you've never heard that, oh, he was a cancer, he was doing this, he was undermined. I've never heard any of that kind of stuff.
When I mean undermine, and I probably used the wrong word. If I call a play and we're looking for this, I simply watch KD get 4 buckets in a row.
Yeah.
And he said, Coach Brooks, it's my turn. I'm going to miss the shot.
Yeah.
KD's like, hey, man, that's what we'll be running.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the reason why he left. And he's all but said it, I think he said it not directly but indirectly at one point. But he alluded to it, and there's video. There was video from that season. I think during that playoff run when they played Golden State, where KD had like 3 or 4 buckets, and then Westbrook comes down and he wants to take his own shot, and KD's like this, and then he just kind of like drops his head.
Right.
And I remember noticing, like, I never really paid attention to it, and I was like, oh.
I've watched a lot of Westbrook.
Yeah,
a lot of Westbrook.
It's like I've always wondered. Like, I've changed people's shots over the summer, and I always wonder, like, what is it that he can't be a consistent 30 to 35% 3-point shooter? I've always wondered. Like, I'm wondering, and I'm wondering what it is.
He has and of course, I'm not a psychologist. Okay, I'm just letting you know, I'm not. However, Westbrook has a defiance that's really made him great.
Yeah.
But it's also his biggest enemy.
That's true.
You know, and he even fights against himself.
Yeah.
His form is never the same every time he shoots. It is not consistent. I think he could be a really good shooter.
Yeah, because I've seen him when he's gotten hot. And he's shooting. Yeah, I've seen him, and everything's pure. But I mean, maybe it's more mental. Like, I've never just really studied his form like I do with people that I'm training.
Right.
But it just like baffles me. Like how is it that you can't improve? So you can't improve your shooting percentage over summer if you say, look, I'm going to get with somebody and I'm just going to work on this. Because imagine if he was a 30 to 35% 3-point shooter. And it's weird to say that, 30 to 35%, but a 3-point shooter shooting that percentage.
He's in the 20s though.
Yeah. It's like if he was 30 to 35, no, how are you stopping that?
It's bad.
Because he wants to get to the rim and he attacks it. Right. So you can't drop. I've seen people drop 6 to 7 feet on him and he still gets by. Yeah. So imagine if he's shooting, you gotta honor that shot if he's taking it and stuff. So
he's an amazing athlete.
Oh yeah.
He's an amazing athlete.
Yeah, competitive everything. And it's like at this stage, I think I always say after like 4 years, you are who you are. It's rare that you're going to see somebody transform their game unless, like, if you get traded and they tell you, look, if you can't do this for us, we can't keep you on the team. Right. Then you have to if you want to stay in the league. But for the most part, I think players are they are who they are.
And the way the game is played now, you gotta shoot. You have to shoot the ball well.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting ready to find. Once he gets off of Denver, now we're hearing that the coach is fired because of Russell Westbrook and. Play, they didn't want him in the game, and
I think there were situations where, like, there were games that I could point to and say they don't win that game without Russ.
Oh, for sure.
But then there was certain situations where it was like, okay, you can tell where this is trending. Mm-hmm. Pull them out,
right?
Absolutely, and go, because you got to live with those consequences. And maybe he's thinking, you know what, with Joker and these guys around. He won't have that situation, but when you scheme against him, it's we're gonna force him to do something. Absolutely. Because we know how he is. But
like I said, just the way he grew up in LA, you can just tell, like, he plays the game that way.
Yeah.
There's not gonna be anybody tell him how he's gonna do it or what he's gonna do it. I think he's gotten better at learning situations. I actually think his IQ has gotten better with Denver. Yeah. I really did. But there's certain shot he takes, and it's like, what?
Okay, but then the question I asked is, is it that it's low IQ, or is it just that it's I don't care, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do?
My thoughts are, when you say you're gonna do what you're gonna do, that's low IQ.
I never looked at it like that.
We can't use you.
I never looked at it like that. Okay. All right, so let me get on to the next subject. So my question is, does it say something about a program if you have kids leaving that program every year through the portal. I'm speaking about college basketball, or really any team, whether it's basketball, football, or whatever. If there are a certain amount of kids that leave every year, does it say something about the program? Now, here's why I say that. Baylor just lost their entire team. They had two. I think one was a grad, one declared, and everybody else just they entered the portal. So then the question is, well, if everybody's leaving, is that something with the portal? Is that something with the coach?
You know, I've actually had this question asked to parents. I had a parent that was really looking at a school, and they got really worried because there were 8 to 9 kids that were in the portal.
Right.
And so I think the NIL has changed the game because it can't just be, oh, this coach is terrible or situation. A lot of players are being pried, especially on the men's side. They're being pried away from other programs with better deals.
Right.
And so, and I really believe that sometimes people in the conference are trying to pry those kids away. Yeah, and that will I don't have to deal with these guys.
But think about it. I can see if you're the star, you're averaging 20, 25 points a game star, and somebody comes and tries to get you because they can give you more money. I get that, right? They're trying to pry. But your 4th and 5th leading scorers and guys coming off the bench and that are playing now, the two types of people that I can see entering the portal, if you're a star and somebody else wants to give you more money, I can get that. If you're a guy who thinks you are a player who thinks that you should be playing and you're not getting any run because of the way the coaches are, those are the types. But then the other group of players that get playing time, they're good role players, they're happy with their roles, why are they leaving?
My opinion, and I've seen it. I know a kid from here, kind of same situation. Like you have as you said, you're maybe necessarily not 3rd, but your 4th, 5th, and 6th guy, right, are at a power 5. Hey, let me go to a power 3 or 4. I can get more money, but yet I can get more minutes and more playing time. So I'm gonna be more effective. I've played in this, let's just say the SEC. I'm in the SEC. Now I'm gonna go to the Big South.
Right.
I'm probably gonna level up and get first team all conference, so on and so forth, which is more money, which is more film to get me in the league.
Right, but better resume. Right.
Absolutely.
But everybody?
Yeah, no, it's not everybody. I mean, I'll say this, and I know this, I say this to a lot of people that I advise, or that we advise, basketball has hurt more people than it's helped.
That's true.
It's hurt more people than it's helped.
That is absolutely true.
So your decision has to be very, very wise. But I think there's a lot of shadiness going on. Always has been.
Yeah.
You know that.
But everybody. I'm tired of everything you said. But to lose your entire team, if I'm like the AD and the board of regents and stuff, I'm like, yo, hey, bring him in here. Like, yo, like, I'm not. All right, Mama, I'm not gonna talk the way I need to talk. But like, yo, what happened? Why is everybody gone?
Right.
You got to be, because I'm gonna reach out to those kids and say, look, we respect your decision, but why did you leave? If it's 1 or 2, I get it. But if you have, I think it was Robert Morris as well. I think their whole team left and entered the portal. If it's your whole team, to me, that's a you problem.
It very well could be, and there's a lot of that going on too. But I mean, just think about it. We've got, let's just say we have a roster of 15. They get 15 scholarships. Let's say there are 10 guys on there. 5 are leaving, right? Seniors. You have 10 guys with 10 different agents telling you 10 different things. you got my guys at the house, you got my brothers, you got my cousins. I mean, there's a lot of different personalities really trying to sink their teeth into these kids, whether they are relatives or not, telling them that they're better than they really are.
Yeah.
You know, really getting 10 toes down and staying like those days are gone. You know, and the climate now is, you say the wrong thing to a kid, whether it's a joke or not, they're leaving, they're gone. I mean, and you have said this as well as one of the guys on our Coach Jay. Most kids just don't want to compete. They just don't.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, it's and then, you know, just throwing this out there. Let's say you won the conference, right? And my contract is up. I got one year left. I gotta win. Like, I'm desperate. I got runners calling the guys on your team and these teams, and I know exactly what I need. And so, I mean, it's literally a dog eat dog world.
Yeah, I'm just like, I can get if you lose 2 or 3 players. You know, everybody's like, I want to see the teams that don't lose anybody. That's what I should start looking into. Is like, well, which teams don't lose anybody to the portal? I don't think that's happening. I think every team is going to lose maybe 1 or 2 because somebody might think that they can get a better deal or more playing time. And I get that whole system, but like, to me, it's a red flag. If I'm looking to go to that school and all of a sudden everybody leaves, on one hand I'm thinking, oh, well, that's great. They can build around me. I can be the foundation. But on the other hand, I'm like, why did everybody leave? Yeah. Like,
if it's yearly, that's a problem.
Yeah, like, yo, like the janitor left, and you know, the guidance counselor left as well. Man, everybody, they took everything. So, yeah, we'll keep monitoring that because the portal is in full effect.
Oh, for sure. And you, I'll say this just to end on the segment, like something that you said that was important is like, I think maybe it was about 3 weeks ago. I think it was just me and you talking. Like, there's got to be rules where you have to sit out.
Yeah.
When you transfer the second time, you have to sit out, and that'll it won't stop it, but it'll just get it tamed down a little bit.
Well, I think with the Tennessee QB, I can't pronounce his name, Nico. I think with him. Yeah. And then he ends up at UCLA for a lot less than what he wanted.
Right.
There are people pointing to that this is going to be the moment where coaches are going to they're going to have to start taking control of stuff because it's gotten out of hand.
Right.
I'll say this because I don't want Rod, messaging me or calling me strictly. I don't want Rod, on my ass about it. Whatever rules you put in place for kids, for the players, got to do it for the coaches.
I don't think so. I totally disagree.
You can't have coaches looking you in the eye, telling you about the program, knowing that they're about to leave. So if they're gonna leave, okay, they leave. But now wherever they leave, once they're there, they got to be there for whatever length of time.
I don't agree with that.
Why not?
Man, look, you cannot tell me that we are equal. Okay, they may be more valuable, but we're not equal. It's just not the same. Like, this is a job for me. It's a job for everybody. I understand.
Right, it's a job.
Okay,
now.
But look. Understand this. I'm worried about way more things than you are.
I get all of that, but what bothers me is when you sit up there and you tell everybody that you're not going anywhere, and then once the last game is over, within 24 hours you're at another school on announcing that you're going to be taking over that program. That's bullshit, man.
Players do.
Well, they do now. They have the ability to do it now. That's what the portal is. But I'm saying, if you're going to tell players, like, if we're going to do that with players, then there's got to be some kind of rules with coaches.
I disagree with that.
Well, I know you disagree because you're a coach.
You cannot. There's no way a player is going to tell me we are equal. And the same rules for you are for me.
I don't see why. I don't see why it's not. I mean, think about it. In professional sports, how many coaches do you see at the end of the season leaving to go to another NBA team? Doesn't happen.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they're equal. There just needs to be something that makes it fair. Look, if you fulfill your contract, let's say you're coming to the end of your contract as a coach, and you say, you're telling your team, and it's like, look, we're gonna play this. I'm gonna do what I need to do, but some things have changed. I might have to look elsewhere. And you let your players know that at the beginning or whatever, and you serve your term.
They're not mature enough to handle that, kid.
Who? Players?
Players aren't mature enough to handle that.
They not okay, but everything's being thrown at them right now. So I'm not even talking about the players. I'm just saying, because you do that, you leave, right? You leave in the middle of the night. You go to another program. You're not coming to my damn child's house and talk to my child about being accountable and honorable and doing the right thing and building something. When the ink is not dry on your new contract, you ain't even moved everything out for your last one because you left in the middle of the night because you had this other job in hand. How you gonna ask me to buy into what you're saying when you're not even practicing what you preach?
All they do is come with them. Bottom line. And look, if take Wade, right? For example, McNeese State. You mean to tell me that I'm at McNeese State, I blow up, I'm the hottest coach in the country, and I have to stay because K said these rules in. That's just crazy to me.
Why not?
No.
Look,
I can't level up.
You getting a chance anyway. You probably shouldn't have got a chance because of what transpired. Okay, since you want to use Wade, I gotta be careful with my language. Now you know what? Why the fuck was Wade at McNeese State?
Because he was NILing before NILing.
Yeah, exactly. He was doing what people are doing now.
Right.
He got caught. He really got caught, right? He was out.
He got caught.
He had to start at the bottom,
right,
to move up. So I get all of that.
Mm-hmm.
What year was he in his contract? Was he at the end? Was he at his first, second, or third year? Was it a 3-year contract he had with him?
You're not gonna tell an adult if no, I don't like McDonald's fries, so I'm not even gonna use that. I'm at Wendy's, right? I'm there for a year. I build everything up, got everything going. I'm the manager. I'm like, everybody's happy. Sales are up. All of a sudden, Burger King says, "Hey, man, I got 30 more thousand for you a year." I'm supposed to stay because no.
I'm not saying you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. I'm saying if you're going to put restrictions on these players,
but it's contractual.
It's got to be contractual with the.
It's not contractual for the players.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going to do it, it needs to be contractual for the players. It needs to be contractual with the coaches. Now, I do know that if a school's going to get you, they got to buy you out, right? They buy out your contract. What I'm saying on the flip side is, don't come talking about loyalty and being and building something when you just did that. You come in and say, "Look, you gonna come here. I'm gonna get you some looks. We're gonna play hard enough." But I don't want to hear that family shit.
I think everybody understands now. It's a business.
Yeah, it's always been a business.
There can't be contracts with players because then they got to say it's pro sports.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna do that.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. All right, so we're gonna take a break and then we're gonna come back with our next section. All right, so now we're back. We're going to go into our basketball ideology. All right, so the first thing we're going to cover is why situation matters. So what do I mean when I say situation matters? I'm talking time, score, situation. Those things are really important in sports. I would say it might be the most important in basketball because things move so fast, right? So let me give you 2 examples, and then we'll discuss them. So the first example I'm gonna give is concerning Russell Westbrook. They were playing Minnesota Timberwolves. It was like under a minute, like under 40 seconds or so. Maybe even it was less than that. I don't know exactly the time, but Russell Westbrook gets a steal. Okay, so he's on a break. They're already up 2. Russell gets the ball. He outlets it to Christian Brown, and it was a 2-on-1 break. So Brown throws it back to Russell, and Russell goes in for the layup. Now he shorts it, which was weird because I've never seen him short a layup, and I don't know if he initially thought about dunking or whatever, but he misses the layup. As he misses the layup, when he comes down, there's this pause. It's probably between 0.8 of a second to 1.5 seconds that he pauses to like, I just missed the layup. Then he runs back down because Minnesota's in transition. They move the ball, they run the clock down. I can't remember who it was who drove baseline, and the ball goes over to Alexander for a 3 as time is expiring. Russell comes flying over and fouls. And it was clear foul. Clear foul at the end of the game. Alexander, I think it was Alexander, he goes to the line. He makes 2 free throws. No, they were up 1. They were up 1 because he makes the first 2 to give Minnesota the lead, and then he misses the last one. So, time expired and they lose the game. Second situation, Chicago Bulls and the Lakers. Lakers are up 5. Chicago runs out of bounds play, gets I think it was a fade 3, knocks the 3 down. LeBron gets the ball, and then LeBron goes to inbound it to Reeves, and he makes a bad pass, a bad angle pass. It gets stolen. They kick it back out. I believe it was Cody White who hits another 3. Now they're up 1. Lakers come down. What they call a timeout. Lakers come down. Austin Reeves hits a bucket, which is the go-ahead bucket, which was like maybe 2 or 3 seconds. Chicago inbounded. Giddey gets it, takes a dribble, hits a three-quarter 3 to end the game, right? So the situation I want to talk about is we'll start with Russell Westbrook. So I'll ask you, in that situation, you're up. You have a breakaway, a 2-on-1. It's really if you take away the fact that he missed it, it's a sure 2-point layup. Are you one that says no, we're going to take that shot, or are you going to pull it out?
I think it depends on who it is. Russell Westbrook loves to miss layups. He consistently misses layups. And you're right, he rarely shorts them. He throws them over the rim, over the backboard.
I wasn't expecting you to come out like that.
Completely.
Damn, man, did Russ show up at your house with a bat or something?
Man, I am, as great as he is, I'm very frustrated. I'm about details. Those
yeah,
details,
I know, I get it. And it frustrates you because as great as he is,
right,
you would think you would work on the little things, right? And I get
MVP of the league.
I get it. But what would your situation, what would you do?
Get him out of the game.
Okay, so let's start. Hold on. All right, hold on. Time out, everybody. Let's take the fact that it's Russell Westbrook.
Okay.
Let's take the fact that it's Russell Westbrook in there, right? What would you have? What would you normally have your players do in that situation?
And I'm up 2, right?
Yeah, I think they were up 1.
I'm taking the layup.
You're taking the layup, right? Why?
It puts more pressure on the defense. I'm not gonna pull it out because that allows the defense to set up. So
right,
chances are they've scouted the play I'm gonna run in that league, and
no. So you're up 1.
Right.
You're up 1. You get a steal. So instead of
if I have a layup, I'm taking
right,
a layup.
you take okay, all right. And see, I'm going to say that as well. There was a certain amount of people who were discussing it, and they were saying, no, you pull it out and you run the clock because the clock is your friend. To that, I said, yeah. But what if in the course of you pulling it out, you lose the ball?
Yeah.
You make a bad pass, right? Or you get fouled. You go and you miss the free throws.
To me, it's too many variables. Like you just said, you just listed two variables like that are huge. Maybe you got the wrong guy shooting. Maybe you throw a lob and I threw it too high. Like, just take the layup.
Yeah.
Now I'm up 3 and I put the pressure back on them.
Yeah. Now, you know what? And then the way I view when I watch that happen, I think the fact that he paused, he was now trying to catch up.
For sure.
And you know, and I heard coaches and people talking, well, when you're coming back on transition, your first thing is you're supposed to get to the paint and then fan out, right? So you're back on defense, you're protecting, and then you fan out to wherever you need to fan out to. Because of that 0.8 to 1.5 seconds that he took when it was like stunned, like, oh my God, I just missed that layup. Like I can't believe that. He's late getting back. And I think if he wasn't late getting back, that wide open 3 doesn't happen. So it was almost like you missed the layup and then you compounded it because of the series of events. Time score situation, it didn't work out.
That's what he always does. I mean, I've watched this guy a lot. Hey, pull up the film.
I know, but I tell you what.
See,
this is gonna be the last time we talk about Russell Westbrook, man.
The thing that you pointed out, right? You said time, score, and situation.
So you agree?
He's never been good at that.
You agree with the layup? Like, look,
absolutely.
Who would have thought he would have missed the layup?
For sure.
Right? But although you said he throws it up over the, but
let's say he misses and gets back, we're still good.
Yeah. If he misses, and as he misses, he's immediately right. And I think that was the nail in the coffin. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that might have had a lot to do with what happened with Malone, because they could point to that situation and say, look, this is what happened, right? Now, I know we were going to talk about the Lakers, but it popped in my head.
Sure.
There was another game that just recently happened. Miami, I think Miami was playing Orlando or Indianapolis or something. I can't remember who they were playing. Tyler Hero gets a steal. Now, mind you, the Heat are down 5. It's right under a minute when he gets the steal.
Okay.
He dribbles, he pushes the ball up court, takes a 3.
Okay.
There's nobody there, wide open, no defense in front of him, fast break, he pulls up and shoots a 3. He misses it, they have to foul, you know, they ultimately lose the game because it's a numbers thing and stuff like that. There was a lot of talk about that. What would you have done?
It depends on who, what, when, and where. So if he's hot, shoot it.
Yeah,
you know? If like 2 years ago, I think Butler did the same thing in the playoffs.
Right. But there were some people still in front of him.
But he was wide open. Okay, he was wide open.
Yeah.
So,
If like kind of transition, if there's somebody down here and he's wide open, yeah, I can see you taking that. But if there's nobody in front, that's an easy layup. You take that 2, now you're down 3. There was 40, at the moment that he missed that shot, there was 40-something seconds left. Now you're down 3.
Yeah.
You're down 3.
Yeah.
Now you go down and lock up.
Yeah. I'm taking the 3.
You're taking the 3.
If it's him. Now, if Bam Adebayo has it, I'm taking the 3.
Now, is that an analytical approach for you? Because that was what the analytical people were putting out there. Like, analytics, it tells you this and that. I don't want to hear that shit.
No. For me, first of all, only thing I know about analytics is how to spell it. I don't get it. I don't get too involved with it. However, for me, like, it just like that gut feel. I'm going with my best shooter, who's an all-star, who's our everything. You know.
Yeah, I'm taking the shirt too. If there's nobody in front, I'm laying it up. I'm getting the 2, and then because
you're saying I've got the ball right here at the 3, and there's nobody in front of me.
No, there's nobody in front.
I'm taking the 2.
Yeah. Because it was a steal at half court. So by the time he pushed it, he was a good 3 or 4 feet
Oh yeah.
in front of that defender, and it was almost like the defender kind of slowed down and like, okay, he was going to concede the tee, but then everybody's still coming, and then he pulled up and shot.
Okay, that makes a big
difference. Like there's nobody in front. It's like it's you and the goal.
My apology. Hero was trying to be a hero.
And that was like, so after the game, they was talking to Spo, and Spo's like, I know what he was doing and why, and I commend him for it. But that's a conversation we'll have a little bit more on certain things and what we will probably try to do. He said he
always has great answers.
Right. He's like, I have to coach him up better. That was on me for not coaching him up better.
Took your hit.
And that was good. For him to come out and say it like that, and it's like,
protect your players.
Yeah, and at some point you're gonna like, man, what the hell was you doing?
I'm sure when they got in the locker room, one-on-one, they had a conversation.
So the next one. So let's get back to the LeBron thing. Now,
okay.
the issue that people were talking about was they were saying, well, as a coach, you always call a timeout, so you don't put that pressure on your player. You call a timeout. You bring it to half court, and now you're going to give yourself some time. You can run a set and stuff like that. I'm okay with that if it's Jackson Hayes or Vanderbilt who's taking that ball out. But when you say you have a savant, one of the
best ever to do
it, oh Lord, here we go. With his IQ, I'm not calling that timeout. He's got to know, like, he's got to be accountable. He made a bad play. Now, I've never understood why, if you're there, you always want to stay away from the corners. Players always like bump and then they run to the corner and catch, as opposed to just holding your ground and putting your arm like right here, seal, and just put it right here and I'll get it. Mm-hmm. But having him, so Austin Reeves went that way and he made a bad play. So what say you? You calling a timeout?
You would not if it's LeBron. I wouldn't call a timeout. I'm not calling a timeout. Yeah. At the same time, Reeves has got to know better. Like, I got to get at a better angle.
Right. And I know somebody was coming from behind as well, but that's when, like, I've always told my when I'm working with them, when they're on presses, I tell them, don't come up, stay as far away from them. So once they inbound that ball, you're gonna have more release and room to catch it. Right. Then if you got to retreat, dribble, and make a move or turn, you have space. But when you go there, you taking more room away from you to operate, because it's never gonna happen the way you think it's going to happen. Right. Something's gonna happen different. So yeah, I'll say in that situation, I'll just say it was a bad play. I mean, LeBron made a bad play. It was on him with the pass, but it was probably a little bit more on Austin Reeves with not giving him and sealing the person so he could catch it the way he needed to.
Well, I'm not gonna be a guy that typically blames everything on everybody else when they throw the ball away, because that's what kind of LeBron does. And that narrative, that's his narrative. We lose, it's everybody else's fault. I don't have enough help. So no, LeBron, don't throw it in. Say, hey, come here. I mean, it's just that simple. Like, as my coach used to tell me, why'd you throw it? So, I mean, that's just what it is.
I tell you what, we could be talking about breakfast cereals, and your ass will find a way to talk about LeBron
and Westbrook. I'm just telling you. I'm just being honest and telling the truth. Like, hey, look, man. First of all, the difference is, here's just my thoughts. From I'm the best to ever play. Why are you throwing the ball in?
What's with the air quotes? Why can't you just say it? I'm not. Look, full disclosure, that was just a conversation. I really didn't have a dog in the fight, but as you can tell, where the vitriol is coming from.
Listen, Kobe would never throw in the ball, ever.
Nah.
Give it to me.
Nah.
Jordan would never throw in the ball.
who would you trust in that moment to throw the ball? Even not knowing the results, who would you trust to inbound the ball? Jordan, Kobe, or LeBron?
Man, they could say it again. I'm sorry.
In that situation, who would you trust to inbound the ball? Would you trust Jordan more, Kobe more, or LeBron more to inbound the ball?
You're changing the narrative.
No, I'm just asking the question because you said Jordan or Kobe would never inbound the ball, right? They would go to the ball and get it. I get that. I know that.
Okay. I would, and this is going to sound, no, it's not going to sound crazy. This is reality. Those guys have a laser-like focus. So I'm going to trust those two guys before I trust
LeBron. To inbound the ball.
Absolutely. LeBron has so much talent that he is so terrific and so gifted, like blessed with gifts that nobody has ever had. Sometimes he doesn't, like, he does things that's effortless.
Okay, so all right, okay, so now you're talking about the focus. But if you weren't quote unquote saying these guys are more laser focused, well, how about this? If LeBron is just as laser focused as those two are you still trusting them to inbound it?
I am, but he's not. He doesn't have that mentality.
Okay, all right. Well, look, you heard it here first, y'all.
I trust the ball in his hands.
How you gonna trust it in his hand, but you don't trust him to inbound it?
To receive it.
Oh, okay, to receive. Okay,
because
okay.
LeBron does a fantastic job of sealing his guy, and you can ask anybody he's played with. He tells them throw it to the hand.
Yeah,
like he is. He is the smartest player that's ever played the game, ever in the history of basketball. So,
well, I'm gonna make sure he gets a point, so he knows that you gave him a compliment.
No, like always. I love LeBron James, but just not the top two players ever to play. But anyway, like he does a great job of sealing and going to catch it. I trust his strength. I trust his length. I trust his sureness of getting the ball. I trust that the fact that if I do get bumped, it's a foul.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get that call.
Yeah,
which Reeves is not.
Okay, all right. So time score situation was where we were going with this, and it's important to understand that you really need to be locked in because that stuff matters, and a lot of times when you're playing in games like playoffs, gets high level competition, those are the things that are going to matter. Rebounds, free throws, those details that coach just mentioned, it's going to matter. So you're going to need to be laser focused and locked in throughout the duration. Don't take time off if the coach is explaining a play in its last, okay, this is the play we're running. It's the last, second or last minute of a game, and your attention is elsewhere. I even heard an NBA player talking about there were hundreds of times where players weren't paying attention because they didn't figure that they were going to get the ball or they weren't going to be in, and then the coach puts them in because it's situational, and they have no clue of what's going on. So I always pay attention, especially locked in those critical moments. They're very important, very important.
Completely.
All right, so let me get on to my next part of basketball ideology.
All right.
So I've had, obviously I'm a trainer. I train players. Something that stood out to me, and it was like you have one instance, and then my mind starts to rewind for some reason. It was like all of a sudden it was like I started thinking about past players, not on the same team but in various teams, and I started wondering like, yeah, you know what? This is an issue that's been happening. So what I'm talking about is players not knowing basic basketball language or basic basketball terminology, and obviously in this day and age, so many different coaches have so many different ways of saying things that it's going to be one coach says something one way, but they're talking about the same thing and another coach says it, but he says the term differently, but they're still talking about the same thing, right? So I get that, but if you know it I'll give you an example. It used to be they call, just off the top of my head, you used to slip the screen. Right? Mm-hmm. Now I believe the term they use is called ghost screen. Mm-hmm. You don't actually set it. So it's the same thing, right? That's kind of the way it's been described when I've watched some different things. Now, it could be different, but in this situation, that's what they were saying. So if I use the term ghost screen and you look at me and you're like, what is that? When I describe it and show you what it is, if your terminology is on point, you say, "Oh no, we call it a slip," right?
And I know how to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
so my problem is that I'm training players that have been with some teams, whether they're smaller or whether they're older, and I'm talking about. I'm really talking more about like AU and city. It's happened sometime in high school, but mainly the bulk of this has been with those. Where these players have been on these teams for like a full calendar year or a full 2 or 3 seasons, and they don't understand or know what basic terminology is, right? And to me, that's a problem. So if I'm a parent, I can't be happy because you're not raising the IQ of my child on this team. My child doesn't need to recite everything. Oh, this is what an X out is on defense. When you close out, help the helper. All of these different things. But some basic things, understanding what off-ball movement is, understanding how to screen. Some kids practice screen and roll, but they don't know that that's a screen and roll, right? Or a pick and pop, and all of those things. Cutting when your teammates driving and understanding how to move to the open spots. And I think that I'm doing my job, but I'll say we because I know some coaches that are coaching in city and travel, and I'll share this information. Like, hey, look, please make sure that you're making sure that these players know terminology because it's important. As much as they're playing, they should know everything.
I run into this often. And so for me, for us, we have athletes all over the state. Right? And in parts of other states. And it's the same problem. And so what we try to do is be as respectful as possible, but it is completely frustrating. The core of me is a high school coach.
Right.
When I was a high school coach, I always had meetings and just thought, okay, what more can I do? I had to understand teaching these kids is bigger than running the offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if I want my players to be able to play on any team in town and be able to function, regardless of the style.
Right.
So again, I see a lot of screen and rolls, right? But I don't see the reads.
Right.
If they switch, they don't know what to do. They just pass it. If they get a high hedge, they don't know what to look for. So what we're trying to teach our kids is like, hey, when you come off a screen and roll, before you even come off of it, what is your read?
Right. Who's the person
who is the person that you're looking at? And it's very simple.
Yeah.
But something that I try to do, and obviously I have more knowledge now back then than when I coached high school, but it's just the reps.
Right.
It's just the reps and reading those reps and understanding that. And we always try to implement a style where kids can coach themselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm not coaching every single possession and every single pass. My mindset was like, okay, Lee, you have these kids 187 to 198 days a year.
Right.
Why is it not better? Why are they not shooting better? Why does this guy still have a poor free throw percentage? Why does your point guard still can't dribble with his left hand?
Right.
And that's on me.
Yeah.
Like you have to give them the intricate details because player-led team is always going to be a coach-led team.
Right.
Always.
Right.
And so, it's really about the details. And I just think, you can get away with it in some districts or cities or states even. You can just run your stuff and win.
Yeah.
But when you gotta have it, and the defense makes adjustments, you can't adjust because you don't know the reads.
Right.
And so that's what has bothered me the most is, okay, it's just like training. One thing I can respect about street cred sports, right? And when I first started coming around, I'm like, well, why is he training that kid like that? There are some trainers that won't take on clients that really aren't on the level per se.
Right.
What I like about this particular facility and this business here is regardless of what level you're on, we have a package for you, we have a plan for you, and we're gonna take it step by step.
Right.
You try to come here doing, no sir, footwork, hey, let's scale back, we're gonna work on this.
Right.
That's one thing I've always appreciated, and that everybody can't do it. And I'm not a kiss up guy. I know that may sound that way,
right.
but I wouldn't be here if I didn't truly believe what
right.
this label is about. And so I won't speak on names, but I have some friends in the high school coaching the business and so on and so forth. And they always like, hey man, how come you've never coached in this area? I said, because I wouldn't know it if I could coach basketball, because I can just say, hey, we're more talented, more athletic. Hey man, just go ahead and break the press.
Right.
Okay. If I get in an area where I have zero talent or minimal talent, I have got to teach.
Right.
I've got to coach. And so I was in areas where they weren't affluent, and I really had to, their best sport was soccer. Lee, can you get a soccer player to understand what's going on and go to these more athletic schools and win?
Right.
And that was something that I did, and I took a lot of pride in.
Right.
But that told me, okay, Lee, like you have an idea of what you're doing. I'm never gonna master this game because there's always something else. If you're not continually learning, you should get out.
And that is absolutely true, and that's exactly why I, continue to do it, because that's always my mindset. I'm always trying to grasp of how I can get, knowledge like you have when it comes to the coaching and stuff. So I'm always looking to get better, and everybody should be doing that. But yeah, parents out there, if you can't talk to your players about learning certain terminology and understanding stuff, there needs to be a conversation with their coach in that organization. But it just dawned on me, I'm gonna probably start putting out videos that detail.
That's gonna help a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm gonna start doing that. I got certain words and stuff, so I'll just try to put it out there, explain it, and then actually show it. All right, so we are going to move on to our last portion. You done lost your damn mind. Now it wasn't as fierce last week because I was kind of half-hearted with the conversation. I hope it'll be fierce today. On You Done Lost Your Damn Mind, the question is, who has the nastiest handles?
We're talking NBA.
I mean, I guess we could talk NBA because if we say NBA, it's
makes sense.
yeah.
Okay. So, are we talking eras or just combined?
Just combined wherever. Like,
wow. I'm getting three guys. Is one? What are we doing? Can I get three in there?
I mean, you could say three.
Okay. For me, I would say. Oh, let me pause. We're not gonna say no Bob Cousy. Don't hit me. We're not doing that. Okay, we're not gonna do that. I would honestly say, and I don't want to be a homer, but I like Jamal Crawford.
Okay.
I think he has a lot of creativity.
Okay.
To his game.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Rod Strickland.
Okay.
Never seen the ball get taken away from him.
Okay.
In college, I'd probably say Kenny Anderson, but not in the league.
Ooh, Kenny the Cat.
Yeah. On the outskirts, my man from New York, Marbury. I'd say that. But I'm gonna say Tim Hardaway.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Tim Hardaway because in my mindset, I'm thinking in traffic. It was tight. It was like, and then hold on. Hold on.
You said three.
I got two.
You said three.
Jamal Crawford.
You said Jamal.
Yeah.
You said Rod Strickland.
Yeah. Rod.
And then you said
Rod
Jamal.
and Tim was combined. Okay. I'll take those three, but there's another stratosphere, and that's Kyrie Irving.
Okay, thank you.
He's another.
Thank you.
That's Kyrie.
All right, because I was like, oh hell yeah, we finna really argue. Look, you know,
gotta respect. You gotta respect.
I've never seen anybody with the way
he's an artist.
With the way Kyrie. Damn, we can't even argue about it because we on the same page.
Oh, let's say this. Like, okay, let's take 80s and 90s. Let's do that.
There's no competition. There's nobody.
No. Kyrie's on a different strategy.
Now, but you know what? What you saying, Kenny Anderson?
Kenny Anderson, man. Tell me.
You know what? I forgot about Kenny the Cat because it's been Kyrie. Because every time the conversation has ever come up, I've always tried to think who had handles just as good and as smooth as him, and Rod came to mind. But I forgot about Kenny Anderson. Damn.
And here's what people kind of. It's almost a slap in the face to him. It's AI. Allen Iverson.
Yeah, but to me, Allen didn't have. He had moves, but he didn't have those handles with continuous counters. And that's what sets Kyrie apart.
Didn't need him though. He was right. He didn't.
Right, but there was sometimes where you put certain defenders on AI that really bothered him. Now his first step was really quick with his crossover, but I saw times where when you had longer defenders on him, he had to, he
use his burst and get out of it instead of his burst.
Right, but with Kyrie, it was just. It was effortless with how he did it. Now, okay, so damn, we can't really argue about that. Let's put it in a different context.
Let's do that.
When you say Steph's handles versus Kyrie's handles, what's the difference to you?
Kyrie's handles are he's reading as he handles.
Okay.
Steph is just trying to create space.
To do what?
To either get his shot off or go all the way to the cup.
See, and the difference for me was always Steph uses his handles to get his shot off.
Absolutely.
Kyrie uses his handles mainly to get to the basket.
Right.
That was always like if you was to say the difference between the two, that was like the difference that I saw whenever I watched them play. And I was so excited to see them play against each other.
For sure.
Because it was always, who had the better handles.
It's not even close.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not even close.
It is not close. It's not close.
Now Steph got handles, man. Kyrie's just different with how he handles the ball.
Steph has the same handles as 3 or 4 guys.
No, stop that.
No,
stop that.
I'm telling you, man.
Top.
He has a pat, and he has a pat, and he has it behind the back. He has that down.
That's it.
Steph. Okay, look. Steph looks like he has crazy handles because his shot is ridiculous. So people are more apt to do this than to do this. So again, you said it already. You answered it. He's trying to create space.
Right, he's trying. I mean, that's usually because he's such a great shooter.
Right. That's why his handles look
But
better.
he's broken off plenty of people to get by him and get layups.
Right, because he has a shot.
I would say Kyrie lives in a five counter moves and up. Steph is in a 2 to maybe 4 counter moves.
No, he's not that high. No.
Nah, that's
No.
now you done lost your damn mind. Yeah, you done lost your mind. I'm gonna have to pull up some tape, y'all, to let him see. Cause what about the wing when he was coming, when Steph was coming through, and he did double cross behind. I mean between out of in traffic to pull up the shot against the Clippers.
People are waiting on him to shoot.
I know that, but
They're never gonna reach for the ball.
No, on that one they were reaching.
His tween, his behind the back is elite. But Kyrie waits on you to make your move, then he goes to a counter.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's really funny because
You think Steph has counters?
yeah, Steph has counters. Now, does it? Like I say, Steph has up to 3 or 4 counters
Okay.
that I've seen.
Okay.
Kyrie will hit you with continuous counters after 5 if he needs to.
I think the thing about Steph is the ball speed is ridiculous. The ball speed from one hand to the other is ridiculous. And you said this that a lot of people don't talk about is the ball height.
Right.
He can change his in milliseconds.
Yeah.
I mean, it is quick.
Yeah, his is probably right there on par with Kyrie's as far as changing.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
On
no
changing
doubt.
that ball height.
No doubt.
And people are like, what do you mean? It's like the ability to, like, if I come at you and I bounce the ball and then I come up higher and then I switch hands and it goes lower, or then I switch back and it comes higher, it allows me to deceive you with the amount of dribbles I'm taking. And a lot of times it forces defenders to do things that they weren't prepared to do,
Right.
which is why you see people get caught a lot. So,
What about Harden?
I think, I don't see a lot of counters from Harden. I wouldn't, but I would put Harden in that with what you say with the pat, he'll pat the between and behind. But I've never seen like with the.
He's kind of like Steph, right? Create space to get his shot off.
Yeah, but I wouldn't.
I don't say better, different.
Yeah,
but he's trying to get his shot off.
Yeah, but I guess here's what. If you're trying to understand, like when I say counters, what I mean is if I do a jab, right, and then I go this way left, and you cut that off, and I immediately come behind my back and take another bounce, and then you cut that off, now I spin on you, and as I spin, you cut it off, and I go right into a crossover and then finish. Those are continuous counters because you're just flowing from one move to the next.
Right.
And I don't see a lot of that with Harden. I see it. I've seen some with Steph, but not that continuous flow when it comes to counters.
I got you. A guy that I like who's not a PG, not a point guard. I don't think he gets his just due. Just won a championship. Not Jay Brown. What's the other guy?
Jamal Murray.
No. Celtics. What's his name?
Oh, Jalen.
Jalen.
Oh, Jalen or Tatum.
Jalen.
Yeah, Jalen.
Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum has
JT.
some handles. Yeah, Tatum has some handles.
He's got some handles.
He has some handles.
He just looks different because he's 6'9".
Right, and his is longer. But yeah, he does have the mix master. We're gonna have to make that
For sure.
a subject and just talk about mix masters when it comes to the different handles. But look, that's gonna be all our time.
Can I get one more?
Okay.
Where did you get your handle from? How did that progress? Because I know everybody had this idea that you learned from Tim Hardaway because it was kind of the same type of
here's the funny thing. When I started, I modeled my game after Magic because I idolized.
Right.
Then as I realized, I'm not gonna be 6'9" and I have to be quicker, it was, starting to do some of the different things. I didn't even know who Tim Hardaway was until people was like, you should go to UTEP because you play like him. So the only thing I was doing without even knowing who Tim was the between cross. That was my move, the cross and then the between cross.
For sure.
But then once I got here, it was watching all of the other guys, things you did, things Twan did, CD, Eddie, Eddie, all of these different guys, Henry Hall, all of these guys had little things that I watched, and then you start to be creative and just say, ooh, I wonder if I can do that. But I mean, Kenny Anderson, Rod Strickland, I could throw them in as well, because as you start to learn that you have to do more things, then I'll say, who would it be for you?
Man, I honestly was like, I was really stealing from everybody.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Magic fan as well.
Yeah.
I watched Tim Hardaway a lot. I went to games with Bobby Joe Hill, Mr. Cager, and I actually got to really watch Tim Hardaway when he first got here.
Right.
And Luster Goodwin.
Right.
I watched all those guys at UTEP, so I was literally front row just watching and then using my imagination, and I think that's the best guards have the best imagination.
Right. You have to have.
So I was just really taking from everybody. Henry Hall is the one that taught me to drag.
Yes.
He was from DC.
Yeah.
I didn't know what he was doing.
No. I know we gotta go. First time I'm guarding him, and he reminded me of what's the name? Ball Bull or Bull Ball, the character on the Mike Tyson fight.
Oh yeah.
He reminded me of him. So he's sitting up there and he's dribbling. He goes by me, and I'm like, okay, and I'm there, and then I get there, and then it just seemed like his arms stretched out, and he pulled back, and I'm like, damn, how'd he do that? Then he hit the shot, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take that shit away. So he does it again. He pulls back, and I'm like, yep, I'm on it. And then he crosses up. I was like, oh hell no. So I learned it.
He taught me that.
I learned it, and then I hit him with it. I was like, yeah, boy.
Well, I tried to hit him. Didn't work out that way. But he literally played one-on-one with me for like 6 days straight, and I learned it.
It was. I had never seen it before. And that was one of the things I love was like, cause like when I went back home in the summer back in Dallas. And like, I had all of my other stuff, but then I started hitting guys with this kind of stuff, and they're like, dog, what are you doing? Where did you learn? And I was like, dog, it's a whole world of basketball. And I'm in Dallas, and we got ballers, but it's a whole world of guys out there that's doing stuff with the ball, and I wanted to know. So that's gonna be all for today. Just make sure you like, subscribe, follow, comment. I'm sure today's conversation will elicit a lot of that.
Got a little spicy today.
Yeah. We got to make sure we get you some protection from LeBron and Westbrook people, man. They're gonna be looking for you.
All I can say is what I see.
I got you. We ain't having that, man. If y'all want to talk, that's what they. But don't be trying to bring that other stuff over here. So we're gonna end it like we always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. We out.
Peace.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.